And we're live. Hi, everybody. Happily joined by Jenny O Brien for an author chat tonight. Such a big fan. And you're going to start us off with an introduction to yourself and your books.
Oh, God. Hello, everybody. I'm Jenny. I do a bit of writing. I don't know how many books I've written, and I honestly can't. I'd have to work it out, 20 something, perhaps. I've got 3 that are on my computer and aren't published. No, actually, that's a lie. There's 4. And then the rest are in the public domain. I've written for children. I've written romance. And the last 3 or 4 years, I've turned to crime, basically. So I write the Gabby Down series, which is published by HQ Digital, which is an imprint of HarperCollins. I started off with self-publishing, though. I've just published book 6, which is called Cold Grave. It's out in ebook. It's out in paperback in a couple of months. I love that cover. It's the best cover for any book that I've ever published, in my humble opinion. What else? In my spare time, I'm an all-year-round sea swimmer. And I was going to go, I was saying to Caroline, I might arrive in wet because I was going to go before the interview and I ran out of time. So I'm planning to go at high tide after the interview. So we shall see. I'm also a nurse. I work on a rehab unit that's looking after patients following strokes and head injuries. 3 children, although one of them's not a child anymore. Yeah, busy life. Outside of writing, I enjoy gardening. I'm creating a Ukrainian garden at the hospital with the patients at the moment. So that's sunflowers, etc. And that's what I'm. If I have any spare time, that's where I am, in the hospital garden. Yeah, that's it. That's me.
We've got hellos from Sam and Laura and Haley and Donna and someone that just says Facebook user, so it could be Leslie.
Right. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you, by the way, for all of those of you who have put your name down for having an ARC of Silent Cry, the Preston series. And I will get back to you all at some point. It may not be the next couple of days, though, because I've got a couple of long shifts at work coming up. So just watch this space. Thank you.
So bearing that in mind, the long shifts, the pandemic as well, putting a massive strain on people in the NHS. How do you find time to write? Not just write, but write really amazing.
How are you doing it? You're going to have me blushing in a minute. I don't really know. So the pandemic has been awful for everybody. For me, I've had 6 books published in the pandemic, apart from this one, which is sort of out of the pandemic now. Yeah, and I've had to wear the full COVID get-up. I don't know. For me, it's a release, though. It's the way I relax writing. So some people will sit down and watch telly. I rarely watch television. I'll read or write. So, and if I'm not reading or writing or sea swimming or working or doing kids stuff, I'm asleep. You know, life is to be lived, and I feel every second of it, basically. You know, there's a thing called Parkinson's law, and it's basically says that the more you do, the more you can do, and the less you do, the less you will do. And I'm a full advocate of that, signed up member. You know, I keep busy. I'm always busy. Yeah, and you know, writing was a huge relief. You know, I'd have a bad day at work. I have bad days at work. We all have bad days at work, but then I'd go home and I'd murder somebody on paper. So I was doing something completely different, not having to think about patients as people, just you know, wrapping my head around something fictitious. Yeah.
Have you murdered someone you don't like?
Have I murdered somebody I don't like?
You
mean somebody I know? Have I included them? No. I did. I'm getting into TikTok. I'm trying to get into TikTok. I'm too old for TikTok. But anyway, I did post this thing earlier. That was me. Somebody was rude to me earlier in a cafe. So I did this TikTok video saying I'd put them in my book and I'd basically kill them off. I won't. No, I've included characteristics of people I know, but they would never be able to recognize themselves. So the essence of the person, you know, the nasty bit that I don't like, that would be the central tenet of their personality. But then if they're brown haired, they'd be blonde. If they're redhead, they have dyed their hair green. If they're thin, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have the whole person, but maybe a bit of the person. Or if I see somebody in the street that I like the look of, I think, well, he'd make a really good main character. So I'll use their outer characteristics then. There was a man, quite a good looking man with grey hair and a beard I saw recently, and he's in the back of my brain somewhere. He's going to appear. So yeah, but not somebody I don't like, and then the character would be in the book. I think that's quite dangerous. Actually, you could get sued, so don't really want to get sued.
No. I've decided I'm too old for TikTok as well. Sam signed us up for it when she was off with COVID, and I signed myself up and went to look and decided I was too old and epileptic, and I don't like it.
Right, no, as a lot of writers are doing it now. I think with Sam Ryder's success through partly through to TikTok, he's very talented as well. I think a lot of people will be turning to it, but it's a young person's game as far as I'm concerned. I'm not young anymore. So
Leslie wants to know if you've got a contract for the new series and for how many books.
No, I'm out of contract with HarperCollins now, in that they wanted 6 books, so they had 6 books. But I have an agent, and I'm writing a standalone thriller for the agent, which is set in Guernsey, so something new. I was sitting in the garden working earlier, doing a bit of writing, and I was writing a character, and the name Jax came into my head. And I thought, no, that's not Jax, that's the other book. And I thought, and then I felt quite sad because I liked Jax as a character. He was a sort of a young policeman who doesn't, who he appears in the previous series, and he stutters. But yeah, no, this is different. Working on something new, and we'll just have to see where it goes. HarperCollins might take it on, but they might not. It's different when you have an agent, because the agent will push a book for you. I don't have to. Thank goodness.
Laura wants to know what would be a good book to start with, as you met the theme for her library's crime bubble next month.
So starting the series, each one is standalone, but the series follows the path of the characters involved, the detectives involved. So start with Silent Cry, and then work your way through. Silent Cry is set in South Wales, in Pembrokeshire. The reason I set it there was because that's where my great-grandmother hailed from. And then the rest of the series is set in North Wales, around St Asaph, Llandudno. And that's because I visited there from when I was a baby, and my parents retired there when I was 17. So I did live there for a spell, and my siblings still do. So that's why an Irish woman living in Guernsey writes a series set in Wales, which does sound ridiculous until you drill down a little bit. So Silent Cry is the first one, and it's also available on Kindle Unlimited for those who are saving pennies, as we all are, I think, these days.
I think you do need to read the series in order, because characters,
interestingly,
change over time.
Writers have sort of highlights. People say, was it the first day you got published, or when you got your paperback? Actually, one of my huge highlights was yesterday when a reader said to me that they'd used my book, Silent Cry, as part of their dissertation for a BA in English Lit. And then she sent me the OneDrive, final document, and it's amazing. She basically drilled down to my character of Izzy, who's basically a young woman whose boyfriend stole her 7-day-old baby, and she drilled down to get underneath her character and how that had affected her emotionally. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. That'll never happen to me again. So
you don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, good.
What has been the reception? So it's publication day yesterday. What's been the reception to the latest book? Because I would imagine that people who are fans, I don't know how I feel about the last book yet. As a fan, I liked it, but I don't know how I feel about things. We won't give away spoilers.
I think people are my editor, when she read it, cried. And then the first two people subsequently who read it cried. I don't necessarily write books to make people cry, but it is emotionally laden. And if you follow the series, you might find it a difficult read. But it's something that for me had to happen. You know, series come full circle. Unless you're somebody like Angela Marsden, whose series is going to go on forever, and good for her because it's a brilliant series, but they do have to come full circle. And if they are going to end, there has to be an ending. But having said that, some of the characters I am going to recycle because I do like them. In the book I'm writing currently, one of the characters already appears, even though it's set in Guernsey. So yeah, I'm recycling my characters because I think that's quite good. It's good to recycle. And of course, you appear. So
yeah, you do. I love my character. Shall we tell people about her?
Yeah. Would you like to? And excuse me, I've got an itch in my nose, so I'm not picking my nose, but I have to rub it. That's it. Okay.
So I am a man-eating doctor, which is a lot more intelligent than I really am.
I wouldn't have said. I wouldn't have said. You know, no, I think you're a bright lady.
I'm not much of a man-eater either. I quite like.
No, I'm not. I didn't say you're a man-eater. I said you're a bright lady. I wouldn't dare. No. Yeah,
I liked living vicariously through it as a completely different character. It was great. I was like, this is me and not me.
Yeah. You need a wig because she's got long blonde hair.
Yeah, I would do. Yeah, Sam has just said I was very excited about my character. I did message her and was like, you would not believe my character.
I was chuckling when I was writing her, and then I was quite worried when I sent you the book to read because I thought, oh my goodness, what's she going to say?
No, I think teachers have pretty thick skin. We're quite open to
like nurses, you have to be.
Yeah.
Been there, done that, got all the t-shirts. Yeah.
Leslie has said that I'm a vamp and she's a belligerent mum.
Yes. Yes, I did think twice about your character too, Leslie. But you know, artistic license and all that. Don't sue me, please.
She was also commented that she was very excited too.
Oh, good.
It was lovely, actually. One of the nice things that I really liked about it was I kept stumbling across people's names that I recognised. So I think Leslie's name comes up first. I found Maureen in there. There were like a few people that I came across and I was like, I know this person.
I'm just, you know, I'm a cheat really because it's character names are important, but it's so much easier if you don't have to choose them. And if it pleases somebody to be in a book, well, you know, and it saves me having to come up with a name. So some of the best names I've had are real names in books. There was one from Hera Vicker now which book was it? Lost Souls, and that was from competition that I ran here. Yeah, I can't remember the vicar's name now, but yeah, I love that name.
I remember you running the competition. It was you've been asked what if there's a story behind the cow picture on the wall.
No, this is my bedroom, my son's bedroom, because I live in a small cottage and I don't have any spare room to write. I don't have an office or anywhere. Basically, all the rooms are full of either children or cats. So I work on my lap. So I borrowed this and I've stuck Silent Cry. He's at uni at the moment, so I'll have to move that when he comes home. So yeah, it's just. Yeah, I won't be speaking in here. I won't be giving any interviews when he's home because otherwise he'll be in the background. Mom, get out of my bedroom.
Sam has said you've got a great group of writer friends who all support each other. How important is that for an author?
Oh, very. So Valerie Keogh. Hello, Valerie. Valerie Keogh is, well, you'll all know Valerie Keogh. She's a wonderful writer, but she's also an Irish nurse. she's a little bit older than me, but not much. But so we did our nurse training sort of together-ish in the 80s in Dublin. She was in one hospital which was down the road from mine. We never met. We only met after sort of about, I don't know, about 6 years ago, perhaps, on one of these writing groups. And yeah, we're best friends, really. We speak every day. I speak to her probably more than I do members of my family, including the teenagers. The messenger, it just pings back and forward. We do daily word counts. She's always beating me, but it gives me enthusiasm to try and beat her back. I think I've beaten her a couple of times. Yeah, no, she's a good mate, and there are others. I can recommend. I can recommend it. We do writing sprints sometimes, and then she'll always be my first reader, and I'll be her first reader usually, and we just bounce ideas back. If we get stuck with our books, with our plotting, we'll bounce ideas back and forth. So it's good.
Lucky as well that I think having someone like that is good.
I think
find
so.
Sam the same. My phone tells me to message Sam before it tells me to message my husband.
All right.
So
there's similarities as well. You mean we both drive the same car, same type of car. Our husbands are both in the same jobs. Obviously, we both got nursing backgrounds. It is weird. She's coming over to see me next month. I'm speaking at a literary festival over here, and she's coming to support me. So she said she's going to be in the front row. She'll probably throw apples or eggs or something at me, but anyway, hopefully not.
Or just embarrassingly cheer and hold a big
yes, that would be embarrassing. My skin is growing thicker by the minute.
She'll be like with her book for signing as well, first in the queue.
Yes, well, I'll give her a free book for coming over. It's not cheap getting to go these days.
I can imagine. Yeah. Do you have any events planned over here?
No, I haven't really. We've got a lot going on over the next year or two. So son's in uni second year, and then the twins are doing A levels next year, but they're uni visits this year. But they're all clever, take after their dad. So I haven't booked anything. I'm not even going to the Theakston Festival. I've just head down, carry on working and writing, and yeah, we'll be going to do uni visits with them. Yeah, that'll be a chunk of my holiday used. So
I remember doing those. It's a long process, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And considering it's flights, it's not just down the road or a train or whatever. It's flying over one of the most expensive pieces of water in the world, to be fair. There's no Ryanair over here. It's expensive to get here. So, and I'm not taking the boat because I'd get seasick. I'm not a very good traveller. If anybody wants to kill me, put me on a boat.
I love going on boats.
I love going on boats, but I'm seasick.
Sam has said she was going to say the same. Sometimes she talks to me more than her family. Donna is another one who talks to Leslie more than her family, she said. And I think this is Leslie who's asked you what unis your twins are looking at.
Oh, well, now there's a string. I don't know how long that one is. So we've got Brighton, Southampton, maybe Portsmouth, Cardiff, Liverpool, for starters. And then my other son is in Warwick. But neither the twins' courses wouldn't be in the same university as his, just because they don't do them. So, yeah.
I just did a broad swathe of the north when I wanted to go to uni. I lived in the Midlands, so I just was like Yorkshire and above.
So we've done the other way, because flights from Guernsey are cheaper if you go to sort of Southampton that way, rather than Manchester's not too bad, Birmingham's not too bad, but anything further north, and Scotland's out. We've just cut off Scotland. She mentioned Edinburgh and St Andrews. No, we can't afford the flights. Only that the time to get there, because it's flights and trains and stuff. So No, we have cut it off. Sorry, Edinburgh. Anybody who lives in Scotland or north of the border, whatever. And Northern Ireland didn't get a look in either. So, no, too difficult to get to.
Fair enough. Valerie has said hello, Jenny and Caroline.
Hello.
And that she's heading to. We've already covered that, Valerie.
Yeah,
and what
you're late, Valerie.
Yes.
Yes. It's my turn to buy Valerie a glass of wine. I'm not saying that Guernsey's expensive, but the last time she came over here, she took me to this posh hotel, and the wine was more expensive than the top of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. £27 a glass, £27.50 a glass each. Yeah, so it's my turn to buy, and I'll be buying it from the co-op, and it'll be a bottle. I'll supply the plastic glasses.
Let's talk about your planning. I feel like we've gone away from the books.
Sorry.
Let's go back to your planning process, because I think you're really good at hiding kind of little meticulous clues. So I remember there was a whole thing about like the buttons.
Oh yes, yeah, I like that.
Really important.
I like that buttons bit. My dad was a tailor in Dublin, and that was sort of a nod to my dad. Really, he used to have he used to do like clerical stuff, collars and all that sort of thing. He used to have these boxes of buttons, and so that was a nod to him. I don't know. I don't have a planning process. I have an idea, which is a 1-line, 2-line idea, and then I give it to my editor, and they say whether they like it or not. And then if they like it, I sit down and write the book. And if they don't like it, I go away and cry, and I come up with another 2-line idea. I don't do synopses unless I'm forced to. And I'm trying to go. Sorry, Leslie, I'm saying M too much. I know. I just start with a blank page with a 2-line idea. I write the book. The bits and pieces like buttons come in as I go along. For that book, I wanted to include my dad, though, because it was about a woman who was. The book's called Fallen Angel, by the way. And it's about a woman on the top of the Great Orme who's found dead, wearing somebody else's nightdress. And buttons are integral.
They are, and that's what interests me about like your process, because when you read your books, they're so layered. Like the characters are really deep, the relationships between the characters build, and they're really layered in that sense. And then the story is always quite layered. There's always like lots of sort of parts of the story. How is that just coming out as you write without sort of a detailed?
I have nothing. I don't have any of these. Don't use them. I have my laptop, and on my header and footer, I use my headers and footers a lot for bits and pieces, and that will be things like character names, because I can never remember my characters' names, even my main character sometimes. I'm thinking, what are they called? And things like things I have to remember. So before coming in here, I was watering the garden, and I came up with a couple of plot points which I need to remember after this, because I want to write 400 words when I finished this session. That'll get me up to 60,000 on my current work in progress. But apart from that, it's up here. I'll write myself little notes on my computer screen, and at the side I'll have a paragraph, and then underneath in red it'll be, remember such and such, or why is he here, or what's the time, does this time coincide with that time? And then draft 2 is a nightmare because I have to tie it all together. But that's the thing, I'm a knitter as well as a writer, and with knitting, you make a mistake at the very start of the garment, you have to rip right back. But if you make a mistake when you're writing, you just delete a bit or chapters. It's so much easier. But my process doesn't really exist. It's a blank screen and a one idea. So with Cold Grave, the idea came from dropping my daughter off at a sleepover. As parents do of teenagers, you don't want to actually go up to the door and knock on the door and say, here's such and such, have her, take her away. You drop them as near as you can to the house, maybe at the end of the gate or whatever, but then you watch them in the mirror, or I do, just to make sure that they're going in. And as I was driving away about 2 years ago when my editor said, come on, you need another idea for book 6. I was dropping her off, looking in the car mirror, and I thought, what if when I go and pick her up, she's not there? And what if when I speak to the woman who answers the door, not only is my daughter not there, but the woman who answers the door doesn't have any children? And that was that idea. And then I had to write the 80 to 90,000 page book, or word book, sorry, getting confused in my old age. Yes, there is no process. It's just straight in there. And I do write from start to finish. I will just write the whole book in chapters that are consecutive. I've sort of played around with how I write for this current book, because this current book has got three stories entwined. 2 stories are on the page, the other story is hidden. And I thought it might be easier to write 3 stories separately and then sort of weave the chapters, but I haven't done that. I'm just writing it as one, from page 1 to page whatever, 200, 300.
So with the series, how did you kind of keep track then of all the kind of complex relationships? Because it's not just Gabby who develops over the book, is it?
It's the other one.
Team kind of have like ongoing relationships, and
they're in my mind, really. That those characters, I've lived with them now I started writing Silent Cry probably about 4 years ago, so I've had 4 years of them. They are actually like real people to me, because I know them and I've known their story. And it's actually been sad to sort of in a way wave goodbye, but wave goodbye for now, because I might pick up a thread of it at some point.
So without trying to do spoilers, did you always have the end planned that you wrote?
No, not at all. No, I was chatting to my editor and they said, well, I knew I had a 6-book contract, and we were talking about how we would do book 6. And then I thought, no, I'm just going to do this. And yeah, I can't really say too much because I'm going to give away lots.
Let's not give away anything.
Yeah, no, it's hopefully some people will find the series. It just had to be done. Writers have to write what they think of that what they think is best for their book at the time. I was talking to you earlier about Leslie. I lost a half a star from Leslie because of the ending of Coldgrave. Something I did in the ending of Coldgrave, which I know about, which I'm not going to share. She said to me I'd lost half a star, but for me that was the right thing to do as the writer, even though she might have preferred me to do something different. And again, in Silent Cry, if you read the reviews, a lot of people don't like the last page. In fact, it's not the last page, it's actually the last maybe paragraph, maybe line. It's a long time since I've read it, even longer since I've written it, and that's lost me reviews. But you have to do what you feel is right for your character at the time.
And I think that as a reader. I still don't know how I feel. But that's a good thing. It's a sign that you've done a good job.
You're thinking about it.
Because you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And you sort of have complex feelings about the characters that you've written. So if you feel like that, that means you've done a good job.
Thank you. It makes it more difficult for me because the area of the book that you're talking about is about somebody I work with, because I used her name. So yeah, she's a lovely lady, but I have used her name and I had to sort of say to her, this is happening to you. Oh, okay. She's actually now my boss, which is even worse. But that's not why the book is written in that way. That's just coincidence. Yeah. Lots of coincidences in my writing.
I think this is Leslie, and she's picked up something that I really liked in the story as well. She said she liked the metal hips and the cremator.
Oh, right, yes. there's a story to that one. So I've got a friend who has a jeweler shop in town centre of Guernsey, and we get a lot of cruise ships to the island. And I went in just to have a chat. I couldn't afford his jewellery; it's quite a posh shop. And he said, "Oh, I've got something to tell you. I had this man in from this cruise ship, and he said, do you know that there's a new way to cremate people? They use liquid or something, or I don't know." But because I switched off then when the rest of that conversation went there, because I thought, while he was saying this, what if when the man or woman is cleaning out the cremator following cremation, instead of finding 2 hips, there's 3, because you could have somebody with 2 hips but not 3 hip replacements. I said to him, Paul, hold on a minute, just let me think this through. And he looked to me, and that was that book. I luckily, because I'm in business, I was able to speak to an orthopedic surgeon because I didn't know whether it would work, and I didn't know following cremation if the metal hips would still come out looking like metal hips. So I had to look into what they're made of, the temperature of the metal, all that sort of thing. And then I spoke to a woman who runs a cremation company in the UK, and I had a long chat with her about, afterwards and what happened. So people are very helpful, because I wouldn't have been able to do that book without getting the facts right.
Are they still metal? I thought sometimes now they're like 3D printed hip replacements.
The book was written probably about 2 years ago. Maybe they are now, but the ones that I did research for, they were metal. And what they actually recycle them in some areas, and they send them to Africa or India to be reinserted in other people, which is a bit horrific, but it happens. There's a charity that funds it.
Makes sense, I suppose.
It does make sense, but I suppose they use hearts and, after road traffic accidents and stuff. So it's a form of recycling. I'm into recycling.
Valerie wants to know when you're going to write An Englishman in Dublin.
Oh, Valerie, never. That was I did a series of romances that were sort of a modern take on Downton Abbey, where it was just a bit of fun. I was laid up about a few years ago with my back. I had sciatica, and I couldn't walk for about 6 weeks. And I was lying on the sofa looking out the window, and very nicely, the people next door were having work done, and they had scaffolding. And there was this very nice looking builder up and down the scaffolding, which kept me entertained for quite a bit. And I thought, what would happen if a scaffolder fell in love with somebody who was like a princess or a lady or whatever? And that was another book which I wrote while I was laid up with my back. Just a series of silly romances, but with teeth. Things happen that you don't normally expect in romances, and I'm not talking about the 50 Shades of anything, because I don't write that stuff. Different things. Yeah, I couldn't just write it. Sorry.
I need to go and find these. I love a good romance.
Yeah. They're available on Kindle Unlimited too.
Do you publish them under the same name?
Yeah, they're there. They're there. They just sit there. Sometimes people read them, sometimes they don't. I don't really do anything with them. Just they're there. I'm quite a lazy salesperson. If people like my work, they like it. If they don't, they don't, and that's it. I'm lucky in that I can afford to do that because I have a day job.
I think you're selling yourself a bit short there, because I think you have such a busy life that it's probably quite hard to.
I wouldn't know where to start to prepare. I'm not mathematically minded at all, and advertising and going through Kindle Unlimited and having to sign up to, and then getting keywords. I've looked into it, but that's just not really me, and I find it boring. Yes, it's a way to make lots of money, and there's lots of writers who do it. They spend a huge amount on advertising, but they then reclaim it by having books that sell for $2.99. I know how to do it. It's just it doesn't interest me, and my day job pays my bills as such, and I, as you say, I don't have the time. I am full on with everything that I do. I'm sitting there trying to work out market shares and which keyword would work best, and to push me ahead of this other writer. if people like my books, they like them, and if they don't, they don't. That's fine. Sorry, I just very matter of fact in that regard. I can't force people to like my books. They either like them or they don't. You know, you can make a book that maybe isn't the best book a bestseller through marketing, and that's not what I want. I want my books to be there on their own merit, and you know, they either deserve good reviews or they don't, and that's it. You know, if my writing was so terrible that either nobody bought them or all I got was really bad reviews, well then I'd give up and I'd go and do something else. I'd knit, do more gardening, do some weeding. Yeah, the weeds are growing. Weeds never stop growing. So,
do you have a favorite character you've created?
well, I said I like Jax. My son, one of my sons, has a stutter, and I've got a soft spot for him. I've got a soft spot for my son, a very big soft spot. I have a soft spot for Jax because he goes through a lot with his stutter, but mainly because of what I know my son has got through. When he was younger, you know, he used to get invited to, you know, he used to get Christmas cards, and they were written in stutter. You know, kids can be very cruel, and so I brought a lot of that feeling that I have into that character. So I do, although Jack, he's a main character, he's not the main character. I do have a soft spot for him. Yeah,
he is great. I have a bit of a soft spot for Rusty as well, which probably
I
flirted with him.
All red-haired Irishmen. I've got a soft spot for red-haired Irishmen. Sorry, I'm Irish, and there you go. And there's lots of red-haired Irishmen about. Yeah, I do like Rusty. Yeah, Rusty Mulholland. Yes. Well, you particularly, Caroline, like Rusty Mulholland.
I did, yeah. That's why I said it's probably why my character flirted with him.
Yeah.
I, in real life, have a thing for tall, dark-haired Yorkshiremen.
Right. Okay. And your husband is a tall, dark-haired Yorkshireman, I hope. Good. Right.
He is, yeah.
Well, I'm only 5 foot. Well, I was 5 foot. I was 5 foot and half an inch, so I'm 4 foot something. My husband is a middle-height Guernseyman, so that's who I've got a liking for.
I'm not tall. I'm reasonably tall. I'm 5'6".
Oh my goodness! Right? Okay. No, that's giant. Yeah. No, it's I'm short.
Not if you hang out with my husband's family. You're a midget.
Oh, am I? All right. Okay. Yes.
Donna has asked which of your characters would you least like to spend a day with?
Oh.
I don't think there's anyone really unpleasant in yours, apart from the people who are meant to be unpleasant.
I don't know is the answer. Who would you say? The latest?
In your books? I don't know, because that's what I'm saying. I don't think there's anyone who's possibly me.
No. I couldn't say that. I would have to say it's a character that I can't name, because if I name the character, it will give the plot of the book away, because there is a huge surprise in one of the books. Well, there's huge surprises in all of the books, but there is a very, very, very huge surprise that catches everybody out in one of the books. So if I say the name, I'll give the game away. So I am going to pass on that one.
Yeah, fair enough. Valerie's asked if you enjoy doing research.
It depends on the research. There's a road in North Wales that runs the stretch, and I'm pretty obsessed with getting, is it the A55? I can't remember off the top of my head now. Pretty much obsessed with that road and getting the routes right and the distance and the travel. And so if it's that, no. If it's anything to do with going on the AA site and looking for the distance and the times between a person traveling from A to B, and whether they do it in car, on foot, or on buses, I mean, I drill down quite deeply in that respect. So that's boring as far as I'm concerned, and I don't want to get it wrong, because some bright spark who lives in Wales will tell me that, oh no, that's you've done that an hour quicker than you would have done or something. But apart from that, the other bits are interesting. You know, the bit about the hips was interesting. yeah, there's lots of niggly bits which I find boring, but I do them at the end. I've got a little tip for writers in that I use 3 X's, so XXX. When I'm through my writing, because I write quite quickly, to prevent me stopping the flow of writing, if I have to research something, so the name of a town, for instance, or I've got to look something up, I'll put XXX, and then at the end of the day, I will go back searching through these XXX's, and I'll fill in the gap. So it doesn't just stop the flow. I don't have to get my phone out and then I'll start playing on Twitter, because writers are very easily distracted.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, and no words have 3 X's on them. You can choose whatever word you like, but no words have 3 X's. And you're not going to put 3 kisses in a work of crime fiction. Well, I would doubt very much if you're going to. So it works for me.
Good. It's the A55 apparently.
A55, yeah, that's right. A55. That's what I thought. But
It's always someone who watches who knows.
Yeah, no, A55. That's what I thought. But I've written that so many times, and I had a bit of a blank when I came to speak about it. But remember, the last book, it's a year since I read it, probably, and then it's 6 months since I last edited it. So yeah, things get lost in time.
So my new favourite question is, what have you read recently? So this year it could be that you've really enjoyed. It doesn't have to be crime.
Oh, Lessons in Chemistry is brilliant. Don't ask me who wrote it. She's got an unusual name, otherwise I might have had a chance of remembering. I'm really hopeless at people's names. It's brilliant, fabulous. It's right up there on top of the charts, pretty much. It's about a woman who's chemistry teacher, and then she ends up cooking. She's got a daughter. It's just brilliant. Really unusual. I like unusual books. There's the latest Claire Pooley act, which is sort of romantic, it's more romantic tragedy. It's called, is it The People on Platform 5 or The 5 People on Platform? Oh, anyway, that's very good. Yeah, no, you see, I'm the wrong person to ask. I'll always get it wrong. Don't ask me to tell a joke, because I always mess up the last line, always. So there are 2. One you've got the full name of. Yeah, that's 2.
Donna's asked what genre Lessons in Chemistry is. I agree with you on Lessons in Chemistry. It is. I've read it. I feel sad that I finished reading it. I want to go back.
I'm waiting for her next one. It's a bit of romance. It's a bit of feminist writing, maybe. It's a bit of tragedy in there. It's very sad places.
Probably literary.
Literary, yeah, literary, but not too literary.
No.
If it's too literary, I put it aside, because sometimes they can be a bit too literary for me.
I think it's one of those rare gems that comes along, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very good.
It's currently my favourite thing I've read this year.
I got a tea towel. I reviewed it, and then I got this email. Yeah, I got this tea towel. I should have had it in the room, then I could have showed you. Otherwise, you'll be looking at a blank screen while I try and find it. Yeah, I reviewed it, and then they sent me this email. Would you like a tea towel? And I said, yes, please. So a tea towel, Lessons in Chemistry. I'm keeping it. I'm not using it.
They were giving out bookmarks that were like little conical flasks.
All right, okay.
In my Waterstones when they were selling it, and I've got loads of those, and some of them are stuck to my science display.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's the kind of book, although I read it on Kindle, I would think about buying it in paperback, and that's rare for me because I don't really have much room. My shelves are heaving with books. I've got piles of books everywhere, but it's the kind of book I would buy.
Oh, the hardback is lovely because it's all the periodic table, which is the cover off.
Yeah,
we've convinced Donna, she said, and Laura said she's currently reading the Claire Pooley in a read along with the author. She's really enjoying it. It's
all right. So what's the title?
The People on Platform 5 is the title.
That's okay. Yeah, so I got the 5 on the platform and people. So I really enjoyed that one. But I like her writing anyway. So I hope that does really well. She's a nice lady.
So we've got the information about how you come up with your ideas and things. Have you ever acted out a scene as you were writing it?
Yes, I have actually. With my son, I wanted to look at fingers, hands, the size of them, and could I strangle? It was either strangle or stroke or do something. So I went into my son's room. Didn't knock. I said, just sit there for a minute. Can I put my hands around your throat? And I was like this to see if I could actually. Yeah. So yeah, I have.
What was his response to that?
Yeah, they're used to it. You know, my daughter says to me in the car, you know, Mum, most people in the car when they're speaking to the mum, it'll be, what are we having for tea, or where are we going later, or what are we watching on telly? And you'll be saying, I've got this character I want to murder. How do you think we should murder? So, yeah, that's it is fun. Yeah, you know, part of writing for me is the extra fun it brings. You know, because life can be monotonous. You know, it can be work, home, telly, chores, bills, whatever. This is different. It's fun. You know, and your characters can be anything you want them to be. They can do whatever you want. And at the end of the day, you can turn your computer off and you can forget about them, and then pick up somebody else's characters, by reading somebody else's book.
I think that's the joy as well, isn't it? That you sort of can live through those characters into other things.
Yeah.
So thanks to you, I've got to be a man-eating vamp.
Your husband was going to buy you a blonde wig for your birthday or Christmas. You know that, don't you?
You can have them learn to do things like remember when these kind of things are, and know how to spell my name.
Maybe he could buy you a leopard skin, cat skin suit. That's the kind of thing I think she'd wear as a leisure wear, you know, like tight satin maybe, or.
You'd be really shocked when I turn up to an author event now dressed like that. What did you do to celebrate publication day?
Oh, well, just my life's difficult at the minute. My mother-in-law's not that well, so we're helping out, look after her at the moment. So I had a swim first thing in the morning with my friends that I swim with, and then I went to sort her out, and then I met my husband for lunch. I had a glass of wine at lunch, which I don't normally do, and then later on I met some more friends, different friends, and I then went and had a drink with them. So just, yeah, but no publishing party or anything. Just I bought some. You'll love it. So these writers, they go and they have this big cake made with maybe the book cover on. You've seen them. I've seen them. So I was in Marks and Spencer's, and there was this cake which is made out of 15 blocks. They're selling them now. I think it's about £11 if anybody's interested. And it says "Happy Birthday." Yeah, does it say "Happy Birthday"? I think it says just "Happy Birthday." Yeah, and 15 letters and a couple of stars. So I rearranged the letters and I put "Happy Book Day." But the book, I didn't have a K, so I had to couple together a K, and then I bought this "Happy Book Day," which is made out of "Happy Birthday," and that's what they had. So they were pleased, and it was a thought that counts. It only cost me 11 quid. And it's Marks and Spencer, so that's quite good quality. That was it. There's a picture of it somewhere in social media knocking about.
So what would be your dream publication day? If money was no object.
You know what? That would be my dream publication day. Or sitting on the beach with fish and chips. I'm not one of these highfalutin canapes and champagne girls. So women even, I'm not a girl anymore. So very down to earth, matter of fact. Cup of tea, maybe, if there's no red wine. Cup of tea and a bag of chips on the beach. Or, yeah, the sea. It would involve the sea. And no highfalutin parties. That's not me. So I better not get too successful because I might be using my words. But yeah, I think it's about families and enjoying things with families. So it's quite good that I'm actually stuck on an island because they can't really get at me. I'd have to fly over to them. So unless they want to come to me, I'm clinging to the rock. People in Guernsey all go and see the rock. I'm clinging to the rock.
Makes sense. So, what can you tell us about the standalone?
So that's set in Guernsey. As I said before, it's 3 stories rolled into one book, but one of the stories is hidden until the end. And it's about a woman who is, at the moment, she's a writer. That might change. She's a best-selling writer who's written this book and taken the world by storm, and her husband leaves her. And that's really all I'm saying. It's psychological thriller-ish. It'll be my second one I've written. I wrote a standalone called The Stepsister, which Valerie didn't ask me to write, but she encouraged me to write. And that's when I shifted from romance to crime. So it'll be my second thriller. Yeah, it's very different. There is a detective in it. I couldn't seem to not have a detective. I did try, but he sneaked in. But it's a man this time. Yeah.
Are psychological thrillers a genre you enjoy?
Yes, I read. I basically read thrillers or romance myself. The thrillers can be police procedural or psychological thrillers, and then the romance can be anything as long as it's not too slushy. Historical, I like historical or modern day, but not. I've never read 50 Shades of Grey, and I wouldn't. It just wouldn't interest me. My mum read it, and she read it on the boat coming over. I was embarrassed on her behalf. She's sadly she's not with us anymore, but she was about 78, 79. And then she came over and stayed in one of the hotels over here. Just there's no room in our house for any visiting friends or family. She stayed in this hotel, and she was sitting in the day room, and she had this book, and I was thinking, oh my goodness. But she wasn't embarrassed. She was quite happy sitting there reading it. She said it was a very good book and she enjoyed it. But my sister started reading it and she gave up at 30 pages. So I thought, no, we read the same sort of stuff. So I left it. But no, good on the writer. She had a huge success with it.
Yeah, she made a lot of money off of.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Parodying Twilight.
Yeah, it was a Twilight character spin-off, wasn't it? The characters. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like fan fiction of it, I think.
Right, yeah, fan fiction. Yeah. No, I think she was the first. There were lots of writers who wrote similar types of books, but and I think they were quite annoyed that she became so successful because they'd been chucking away at doing it for a long time. But she just hit on this fan fiction thing and it worked, so good for her.
It is, and I know because we've discussed kind of romance stuff, haven't we? Because I think you are a Bridgerton fan, much like.
Oh yes, I am. Did you know that it's Sorry, guys, just tune off for a second. Did you know it's Penn and Colin in 3? Oh yes, we had that conversation on Twitter, didn't we? Yes, it's Penn and Colin in episode 3. I read Julia. I'm a Julia Quinn fan, and I read the books about 9 years ago when they came out. So I had to actually reread them when the series came out, just to remind myself of the characters. And then obviously there were huge changes that weren't scripted in the original, which is good. Yeah, no, I am. I like the Bridgertons.
I hadn't read any of them until the series came out, which is very
Right.
bad. I do like that genre of book.
Yeah, I do like Regency.
I just had to look on them, and I knew, like, I watched the first series, and I bought like the first so many as a box set because I was like, I'm just gonna like these, so I bought like 6.
Yeah.
I think.
And I like the background. Julia Quinn is obviously a best-selling writer, but Shauna, I think of her surname. She was away on holidays and she was staying in this apartment somewhere or house somewhere, and there was a Julia Quinn book in the bookcase, and she picked it out and read it. And just because she read that book by accident, because it was there, it's become this amazing best-selling series. I also enjoy the fact that the male critics, the likes of the Guardian and the Telegraph and the Times, they slated you just, they say it's the worst thing ever, but if people enjoy a book and or a TV series and it gives them satisfaction, it's not the worst series ever. It's it's a bit like 50 Shades of Grey. Just because I don't like it, millions of people did. It gave them it gives them satisfaction. So I think it's wrong for them to say it. That's just their opinion. And the woman is a huge success.
Laura said their shared copy of 50 Shades thoroughly disgusted their male colleagues when they found it sat on the safe in the bookies she worked in.
I admire the writer, just because it's not something, I cup of tea. My mum loved it, gave her a lot of pleasure. So, good.
And it sounds like the trick for authors is to leave your books in kind of shared
yes
places.
Yeah.
But the right person picks it up.
Yes, yeah. Get your books out there. I knew I'd made it as an author when I found my books in a charity shop. There you go. And yes, I go to charity shops, not often because I don't have time, but yeah. And I actually find new writers through, secondhand bookstores and stuff. They have them at work, and because they're just not things I'd normally come across. So I'm often getting new writers from work that way, or nipping into charity shops and looking at the books on offer.
I think it's good to kind of explore stuff that you wouldn't normally read as well, isn't it? Sometimes they're the books that you'll take a risk on.
Yeah.
The ones like that.
And Amazon, which is where I get a lot of my books as well, will only display the ones that are the best-selling books. You have to drill down to find the ones that you want. So it's a good way of finding different books, different reads.
It will, once it learns you, start recommending things. So I get recommendations of stuff that's not best-selling. Now, I just think I spent enough money on Amazon that it's learnt my ways.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword, Amazon. We have an Alexa in the kitchen, and my daughter was working in the kitchen yesterday. She was studying, and she said, "Oh, look, Mum, they're recommending that we read your book. We buy your book. Is it a little Alexa screen? Jenny O Brien has her latest book out." I thought, yeah, right, I'm going to buy that. I've read it too many times.
Well, I did, and I'm really glad that you joined us for an author chat tonight, and that you've done it in the past, because I've had a lot of pleasure reading your series, as I'm sure many of our readers have. So just remind us about them, show them off, because we've got 2 minutes left. Show them off, tell us how we can get signed copies if people want them.
All right, okay. Can you see behind me there? Hold on a minute, a bit more of my boy. There's some there. So there's Silent Cry, Darkest Night, Fallen Angel, Lost Souls, and Buried Lies. And then on my Kindle there is, oh sorry, I have to just turn it on. Cold Grave, oops, which was out yesterday. Part of Cold Grave. And then The Stepsisters, a standalone, which is that one. That's a different cover, actually. I'm showing you the wrong one. Children's books. There's 2 children's books. That one is I've written that for a charity, so it's not actually mine. They've got they raised that for Children's Hospice charity. And then Valerie's favourite books. English Woman in Scotland. I like that. That's about a man who's into mold. He's a scientist. You'd like that one. He's a scientist, and he's into mold, and she's a baker. So she's into yeast. Sorry, it's just English Woman at Christmas. That's set in Cornwall. English Woman in Paris. That was the first one, which was that man who was doing building inside the my lounge window when I was laid up on my back. And signed copies. I don't really do signed copies, but if you want a signed copy, or if you want a book plate, or if you're a member of my ARC group, or if you come to Guernsey and see me, you can get signed copies. But you just have to contact me. Yeah, that's it, really. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much for giving me a lovely kind of vicarious sight of myself as someone completely different, and also for writing a series that I have absolutely loved.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.